I'm Carlin Burisenko. I'm an analyst and independent journalist covering the far left in America. And you might think that when I'm going to some of these anarchist bookstores that I talk about that exist in almost every major city, you might think that I'm talking about something that's off the beaten path, something you actually have to look for, you aren't just going to run right into. Well, let me introduce you to a far left anarchist bookstore that is literally right in front of the iconic Public Market Center sign at Pike Place Market in Seattle. Today I'm going to bring you inside Left Bank Books, which you can see, I'm not joking when I say it's right next to the sign. This is literally in the epicenter of the Seattle tourist industry. As you come up to the bookstore, you're going to see a lot of Free Palestine stuff in the windows. Here's the other window, Palestine Liberation, all this stuff. I'm just going to show you a few things in the bookstore so you can get a sense for what is pretty typical that you're going to find in places like this. This is a giant pin board. You can see there's all sorts of far left stuff. There's trans stuff, there's Free Palestine stuff, there's anarchist stuff. You guys can zoom in and see all the pin options you can buy at the store. They had this sign for Be Gay, Do Crime, Hail Satan. This is a satanic queer flag, and I actually haven't seen this in other bookstores before, so this was a new thing for me. You can see this is their bulletin board. They got the Trans Joy Picnic. They've got anti-ICE organizing right next to a brochure for the University of Washington, of course, because why wouldn't you want to go to the University of Washington is when you're also doing your anti-ICE organizing. And this is a closer look at this anti-ICE organizing sign. The far left basically says that when ICE is deporting an illegal alien, they are kidnapping them. So that is how you're going to see it framed on a lot of their literature. Here's an advertisement for Zines for Palestine Solidarity. You can see this is for the good comrades for Palestine liberation. You can get a free genderqueer bookmark. Here are a couple stickers for sale at the store. One says, "Keep Seattle Hostile." The other one says, "My child went to Evergreen, and I'm okay with that." This is a little bit out of focus because it was on the inside of a bookcase, but it is a general strike sticker. We also got the Molotov cocktail sticker, and this is, you can see, an anarchist sign with the 3 arrows and the anarchist symbol. This sign was actually on the ceiling. There was a bunch of stuff on the ceiling from older events. This is a sign for May Day, Rulers Make Bad Lovers, Anti-Capitalist March and Dance Party, and you can see the pink triangle is there as well. The pink triangle, whether it's upside down or right side up, is what we look for a lot of the times when we're looking for militant queer activism. And actually, we know this is a home base for militant queer activism because they had a poster of the iconic Queer Ultraviolence, which is an anthology of the bashback movement. Listen, if you see this poster or this book anywhere, that is a sign that you are in a very, very, very far left place, because this was about one of the most militant, violent, far left movements in American history. It was in the late 2000s, but they're starting to revive it now, so fun times for us. And in addition to having that poster, they actually had an entire pamphlet. Again, this was on the ceiling of the bookstore with a bashback timeline. So we have all the major milestone points of the bashback movement, which started around 2007, ended around 2011. But as I said, they are trying to revive this now today. So you can see here, if you want to take a closer look, here's part 1 of the brochure documenting the bashback movement. Here's part 2, and here's part 3. There was also a Be Gay, Do Crime sticker. Be Gay, Do Crime is a reference to the Mary Nardini Gang. The Mary Nardini Gang was actually integral to the bashback movement. They wrote a document called Towards the Queerest Insurrection, which is a seminal piece of queer Marxist literature. I actually picked it up yesterday at the Seattle Anarchist Book Fair. They had it in the form of a zine. So we know this is something they're reading. We know this is something they're distributing. And so that is what that is a reference to. Got our classic Abolish ICE poster. Love raccoons, hate fascism. They had this Nobody for President sticker. It says Nobody for President because no one represents you. I also bought that on a t-shirt because, you know, why not? And you can see there's also a Free Palestine sticker right above it. If you're queer, you can go to that QR code and get some queer resources. As a reminder, queer is not a reference to being gay or trans. Queer is a reference to a far left political ideology that is pretty militant and violent and seeks to overthrow the capitalist norms of gender and the nuclear family. This is another reference to militant queer activism. Anytime you see something that says Stonewall was a riot, Pride was a riot, that's what that's referencing. The bashback movement again. You know, it's always nice to have anti-fascist, anti-racist stickers in Seattle's colors. So there's an Antifa sticker that was in the bookstore. Another sticker calling for youth liberation. This is a reference to the idea of adult supremacy, which is the idea that if parental rights exist, then youth are literally being oppressed by capitalism. This is a used book I found in the bookstore, and I wanted to show it to you because it has the right side up pink triangle. So again, this is a reference probably to the ACT UP movement, which was in the late 80s and early 90s. So anytime you see the pink triangle, it might be right side up, it might be upside down, depending on the time period with which the publication was made. And you can see there, this is the checkout stand, all sorts of stickers, including AK Press, which is a militant socialist book publisher. And just in case you were wondering if we were in an Antifa zone, there is literally a sticker that says Antifa zone. Oh, one more thing, I forgot to show this to you earlier, but if you're interested in that queer ultraviolence book I was talking about, look, they actually had a QR code where you could download a free copy of the book. So lucky us if you want to go read about the bashback movement, which I highly recommend. It is a fascinating movement that will give you a lot of insight into the level of insanity in far left queer activism that we're dealing with today. You can follow that QR code and go download the book for free. And that is my tour of Left Bank Books, which again is in the heart of the Seattle tourist space, right in the middle of Pike's Place Market. Listen, guys, the far left operates completely in the open, and if you aren't looking for it, you might miss it. It would be very easy to walk right by this little bookstore and have no idea that there are hardcore revolutionary anarchists right in the major tourist spot in Seattle. If you want to follow my work and support my coverage of the far left, please head over to my Substack. That is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Still got a couple more spots I'm stopping at on this West Coast tour, so follow along and who knows where I'll take you next.